Up next is the last game I finished off during the October Horror Month Marathon, but it wasn't able to make it into the last video. I really am a huge fan of this series, and I liked this game a lot. I know a lot of people like kind of crapped all over it for its game length and stuff, and they felt like it was, you know, maybe a cash grab. And I can kind of see that, but I still had a really good time with that. And it's Resident Evil 3, the remake. So this is a survival horror series. Everybody knows about Resident Evil. It's just, you know, a remake of the beloved third game. And they changed it a lot, but I think that people in general really liked this release. Like I said, people had some complaints about it, but I think that the pros outweigh the cons in this version. You know, it's the story, you know, Jill Valentine, she's back in Raccoon City, you know, after all the shenanigans went down in Resident Evil 1. And Umbrella, the bad guys, have sent this giant mutant assassin named Nemesis after her. And she has to escape the city. And along the way, you meet up with another main character. He's on the front cover, so I'm not spoiling it. His name's Carlos. And he's an Umbrella soldier. And you get to play as him a little bit during the story, too. And he kind of realizes all the evil that his employer is up to. Anyway. You know, it's a third-person action game, as you can see, and you explore around while gathering supplies, and you solve puzzles to reach new areas, and ammo and health is limited, so you have to be careful. You know, it's typical Resident Evil fare. In this one, Nemesis chases you often in the game, and a lot of people complained about that a lot on the original version of this game on the PlayStation 1, and I didn't, you know, there were times where it was frustrating and he can be overpowered and annoying, but, you know, he doesn't chase you the whole time in this version of the game. So I thought it was kind of fun. I liked it, and it wasn't as tense as it was with those tank controls in the original version. I think it's made in the Resident Evil 7 engine. This game looks great. You know, I've been playing some PS5 stuff, and this game seems to me like it holds up well against the PS5. And in most of the Resident Evil games, I feel like the character design is really good, and that's the case for this one too. Like, Jill Valentine looks good, she's interesting, she's well animated, and since you're going to be staring at her the whole time, you know, it's good that she's nice to look at. And the environments are really cool too, although they're a little small. And I really liked how this game, it had like a live action intro at the beginning, and the game goes super hard right from the beginning. I mean, like 2 minutes into the game, and it is, you know, harrowing to say the least. And I think that's really cool. Another part of the game that I liked, and this is a minor spoiler, but I think probably everybody knows it, is this game, a good part of it, when you play as Carlos, takes place in the same setting as Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I kind of liked that. A lot of other people didn't like it, and they thought it was like recycling content, but I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, it obviously was recycling content. I don't know how you could say it's anything other than that, but I thought it was cool to relive it because that was such an impactful and interesting setting from the second game. So, like I said, I'm praising it, but like there are flaws with it. You can feel that like Resident Evil 3, even in the original PlayStation 1 version and in this version, that this is kind of where Capcom started slipping away from that survival horror genre into more of like an action-oriented focus with helicopters crashing and, you know, explosions all around and chase sequences and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, that's definitely the case here. That slow, methodical sort of pace that you're used to in survival horror games is all but gone, you know, in this game for good portions. You know, and like people said, and like I mentioned earlier, the game really feels stripped back in terms of the length and the features. And this is especially true after playing Resident Evil 2 Remake, where that game was like feature loaded. I played through it multiple times with different characters and felt like there's a lot to explore and a lot of things to do. And this game kind of felt almost like a large DLC to that game. That was a little bit of a disappointment, but it still had a good length. I thought it was going to be like a 3-hour long game after the way people spoke about it in reviews and stuff. It's not. It's about 7.5 hours or so. So it's like your kind of average AAA game length. I mentioned Nemesis earlier chasing you. I mentioned that it wasn't so bad and I kind of liked it, but there were times I got frustrated with it now that I remember it. You know, I like exploring in these survival horror games. That to me is the most compelling point, is going around trying to collect all the items and solve the puzzles and just soak in the environments. And when someone's chasing you constantly, or at least for whole sections of games, that can inhibit your ability to enjoy those sort of things. And that does happen a few times in this game. But overall, I think that Resident Evil 3 had a really decent story. It has cool characters, and it has a lot of fun gameplay in it. And it looks great, but it is a little bit short. And they could have used some more features and areas to kind of flesh it out. You know, like I said, it took me about 7.5, 8 hours to finish it. But I thought it was really good. So despite what the peanut gallery out there in the world thought about this game, I thought it was really decent. I thought it was good. It wasn't as good as like Resident Evil 1 Remake or Resident Evil 2 Remake, but it's still up there and kind of like the higher end of the Resident Evil games. And I would say you should play Resident Evil 3 if you're a fan of the franchise or survival horror. And, you know, it's an 8 out of 10 game.